Hi, this is Steve from the Movies, and I would like to take you on a journey through time and space to all those movies that have ideas of what it is to break the time barrier, travel faster than light, slingshot around the sun, and punch holes through the universe, creating event horizons. But which of all these movies has the most logical method and theory behind it? For example, 88 miles per hour plus a flux capacitor equals 1955. The Back to the Future movies have a very plausible method. Dr. Emmett Brown has created a device called the flux capacitor, which, when you combine the 88 miles an hour with 1.21 gigawatts going through it, creates a temporal rift and transports the DeLorean through time, but not space. So where you are now, you end up then. Where you are then, you end up now, or in the future. Basically what I'm saying is, if you're sitting in your living room and you have a flux capacitor and you jump up 88 miles an hour, you will simply land back in your living room in the past or the future. In your living room. You cannot travel through space-time. Whereas in Red Dwarf, they also find this out. In Red Dwarf, they actually get their hands on a time warp drive. And obviously Red Dwarf, being 3 million years away from Earth, due to a stasis issue and a disaster on the ship, they want to go back to, where they came from whence they came, to correct my English. But as they travel 3 million years into the past, Crichton points out, yes, we're in space. What do you mean we're in space? Well, yes, we are in space. We're at the exact point in space that we were, but 3 million years in the past. So again, you travel through time, not through space. Whereas Bill and Ted are able to use the circuits of history to dial into not only a time, but a destination in time. Therefore, they can go to Napoleonic France, they can go to ancient Greece and meet Socrates. They can go through space and time. So Back to the Future sets up a universe where you can affect the timeline. For example, Marty goes back and stops his parents' meeting. His siblings in the photo slowly fade away. Eventually he starts to fade away until he corrects the timeline. But it also gives the idea of tangents. In Back to the Future Part 2, they go into the year 2015. And evil Biff, grumpy old man Biff, bastard Biff, gets a sports almanac which has all the betting, not the betting, it has all the sports results, which basically you can only link to betting, of the future, and takes it back to 1955 to give to his younger self so he can make himself a multi-millionaire and one of the most powerful men in America and the world. Marty and Doc go back to 1985, not realising this. They end up in an alternate 1985. But they remember everything they already know. I know it's just a movie, but you have to ask yourself, if 1985 is now Biff's 1985, wouldn't they have faded away? Or does the Back to the Future universe give you some kind of leeway, a certain amount of time before you start fading away? So Marty suggests going back to 2015 and stopping Biff from taking the almanac. However, Dr. Emmett Brown quite rightly points out that if you travel to 2015, you'll travel to the alternative 1985's version of 2015. So what they need to do is go back and find the exact point in time, 1955, which they find out from Biff later, but they need to go back to the exact point in time where the timeline skews into the tangent, creating this alternate 1985. Now, Star Trek First Contact had something similar to this, but they explain the installation of the Enterprise crew better. The Borg go back in time and they assimilate Earth's past. so the crew of the Enterprise sees the Earth completely Borg. However, because they are in the wake of the Borg craft going back to that point, they are not affected by the new timeline. So they can go back and stop it. But to be honest, if you think about it, if they go back and stop it, then it never happened. So why would they see the Earth assimilated? Again, it's just a movie, but you start asking some questions and you start thinking, actually, Bill and Ted has one of the best time theories, the whole time game. They don't fart around with seeing the future, how it could play out and how it does play out. It's literally, oh, well actually I'm going to place a cage. And we set up the gun and you lose, bad dude. Bill and Ted really does the time game and the timeline really well. It's actually fantastic. So one of the most confusing ones has got to be Terminator series. I think the first Terminator movie has one of the best time continuum, circle of time, reciprocal theories. A lot of people are confused about how John Connor can be fathered by someone who's born after him. But it's brilliant. It's almost like it's a paradox on Terminator. The Terminators send back, well, Skynet sends back a Terminator to retroactively abort John Connor by killing his mother, Sarah Connor. But Kyle Reese goes back in time to stop the Terminator. However, Kyle Reese is John Connor's father. So the only reason John Connor, who destroys Skynet, exists is because Kyle Reese is sent back in time to stop the Terminator killing John Connor's mother. And the only reason Skynet technically exists, if you watch on for the second film, you need to cut off before the end of it because they start changing time and it loses its really, really perfect circle. But the only reason Skynet exists is because Miles Dyson studies the remains of the first Terminator and starts basing all his theories and all his robotic engineering and computer designs on the CPU chip and the ARM from the first Terminator. So Skynet not only creates itself by sending the Terminator back, but it also creates John Connor, because John Connor wouldn't be born if there wasn't a Terminator for Kyle Reese to go back and stop. I've gone boss-eyed. That's the space-time continuum. The only other movie that I want to talk about, you have Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, the slingshot around the sun. So the Enterprise crew, sorry, technically the Bounty crew, because they're not on the Enterprise in this movie before someone jumps in with that comment. The Bounty crew, Kirk, Spock, McCoy, Uhura, Chekhov, Sulu, Scotty, Dave. Seriously, Dave is a member of the crew. You never see him, but I'm telling you, Dave is there. Anyway, they go back in time to get some whales because some psychopathic aliens want to speak to whales. Basically, hippie aliens want to talk to whales. But at least with Star Trek 4, they go back in time. And yes, there's some comments of, well, how do we know he wasn't the guy who invented the transparent aluminum? They don't ever really affect time, or they don't bother with the repercussions of their interference in the past, because they don't need to. It's not that kind of movie. So watch Bill and Ted, watch The Terminator, watch Back to the Future, watch Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, watch Time Cop, watch all these movies and try, if you can, to find the most plausible time travel scenario.